to another episode of Disaster Empire Quick Views, the podcast where we talk to innovative thought leaders in resilience. I'm Ashley Gooseman, and I am thrilled to have Jeff Sheckley here with me today to talk about his thoughts on resilience. So before we get started, I am going to field it over to Jeff to talk about his background. Hey, Jeff, welcome and thank you. Can you give the audience just a brief overview of your background and how you got into this work?
Sure. Thanks, Ashley, and thanks for the invitation and opportunity to come spend some time talking about a subject that I'm very energetic about, and that's resilience. So when I was in college, I was having a discussion about my future with one of my professors, and he had shared with me, your path will not be linear. So my path to resilience has not been linear. Now, I have a background in business administration that had a focus on finance and computer programming languages, and I'm also an expert practitioner of ITIL.
Okay.
And out of college, I got into a sales career and moved into marketing. And then from there, I got into computers and technology. There may have been a millennial event, almost quarter a century ago now, that was a catalyst for moving into technology. But combined with that event is just my love for solving problems. I like challenges and I like solving problems. And so got into technology, played a lot of different roles. And at one point, so I was approached about taking on a role in internal audit as head of IT audit. Now, as I reflected back on my guidance and career advisory sessions, the word audit never came up, but I actually got into the field, this risk field of audit, and really enjoyed protecting the company, looking at areas of potential risk and providing assurance back to make sure we were safe with operations and mitigating or remediating any identified risk. And from that audit role, I was having so much fun in the risk space. I worked very closely with our Chief Information Security Officer and was at the point where I was looking for a new opportunity or challenge. And we discussed the head of business resiliency at the time. And I made the shift. And at that time, the role encompassed business continuity, disaster recovery, and crisis management. Since then, it has evolved and has moved out of our information security function over into our enterprise risk management. And the role has broadened now to also include operational risk management. And so my current role at Unum Group is the head of operational resilience, and that is my non-linear path to how I got into the resilience field.
Thank you for that, Jeff. And just want to remind the audience to please like and subscribe. That helps grow the channel. And we're going to dive right in. And Jeff, can you share with everyone how you think about resilience? How do you define it?
Resilience, if I was looking at a dictionary, I would think of recover and adjust. And so if we experience a severe weather event like a hurricane, we may recover. If we go through a pandemic like we did with COVID-19, we adjust to what many had referred to with COVID-19 as the new norm. Resilience has so many different definitions, so many different types and categories. At a high level, to me, it means you plan and prepare and practice for unexpected events, and that you're ready to quickly activate if you do experience a live event.
Jeff, thank you so much for that. It's something that I ask all of my guests, but I really want to dive into, I think, areas of expertise that you have. And I know that you have a passion for developing people. And so can you share a bit why that's so important to you and how you've gone about doing that successfully?
Thanks, Ashley. Thinking of the wide scope and breadth of resilience and what it means to a company, if we use an example of a residence. A homeowner is looking at their house saying, I want to make sure this is a safe, sound house that I can reside in. And the many different areas of expertise, the many different facets of a home that you need to look at. Is it structurally sound? Is it safe? Is it have power? Does it have heat? Does it have water? Mm-hmm. And so on. Is it secure? Resilience takes many different areas of expertise to protect and make sure the environment is safe. So thinking of the criticality of the role resilience plays, which in many cases may be in the background, operating, looking out for potential risks and threats. And then with main pillars around for a company, which is much more complex than a homeowner is facing with a single residence, looking at the safety and well-being of employees, making sure the company's operations are there and they're able to service customers while protecting a brand and reputation, that a unexpected event doesn't disrupt things, all the while maintaining legal compliance. That's a tall order as you look across people, process, and technology from end to end. And I will say it takes somebody that's very passionate around problem solving, around looking at processes to see how durable they are, how flexible, that if there was an unexpected event, and those processes may be technical or non-technical, maybe internal or external. So to develop professionals for resilience, it's really that mindset. It's that energy around being able to evaluate processes, how people, roles interact with them, technologies, third parties, and looking for areas for improvement and asking the what if question around plausible risk or threats that may impact the ability to have operations. There are a variety of different areas. A starting point for me for high energized teams is really becoming a process expert and then complementing that with certifications that relate to the resilience discipline. It could be around crisis management, disaster recovery, business continuity, but really diving in and understanding which niche part of resilience is an individual really interested in, because that will probably correlate with their strengths.
Absolutely. And I liked your description of kind of building that house, right, and keeping that house safe. And the people, right, that you develop to do that are such a key aspect of ensuring that we have that resilience and crisis management and risk understanding in place. So it's such an, I think, kind of overlooked aspect of the work that we do and really building those high performing teams. So thank you so much for sharing that. And hey, I know that you came from the IT side, and as you were saying, it has evolved over time. But really looking at the key role, especially thinking back to COVID, that technology has played in the success of operations and obviously the people and being able to continue their work on a day-to-day basis. How do you really feel that role of IT has played into risk, resilience, and business continuity?
It's played a substantial, significant role. I think reflecting back, there used to be a clear delineation between business operations and technology. And technology was very internally focused, in many cases mainframe based. And over time, that's shifted to where we have web, we have mobile, we have a lot of different platforms, and those platforms are internal and external. Now, that evolution played into the flexibility of some of the alternative methods, processes, or solutions that needed to be put into effect during COVID, such as working remotely and being able to scale up that workforce. Whereas during or prior to the pandemic, many companies had a remote workforce presence, but it was typically a smaller percentage of the overall population. So to be able to quickly and effectively transition from a majority of employees working on site to remote, technology played a key factor.
Absolutely.
Everywhere from thinking about hotspots for areas that may not have had connectivity to some of the accessories. I was impressed with the ingenuity in thinking back during the height of the beginning phases of COVID, the creativity that came out. I'm fortunate where I work, they're very focused on health and well-being of employees. So we have the adjustable workstations.
That's great.
And we're on a call talking about ergonomics, working remotely. And one of my colleagues said they had started leveraging their ironing board so they could stand and work. And so technology through mobile, through laptops, it really played a key role for companies to be able to continue operations throughout COVID.
It has been, a huge shift, because I think back to pre-COVID days and after 9/11, right, the focus was on location recovery. And that's a lot of how the business continuity programs were structured. But now, as I'm reflecting on the emerging risk from so many, of our colleagues working from home or working hybrid, either in the office and at home, there's much more of that. And now the risk to power outage, network outage, to me has really increased substantially, even more so than where you work in that respect. So just wanted to talk through, with your colleagues and what you're thinking about on your perspective. How do we prevent, or how do we, increase our resilience for those type of risks in this environment from an IT perspective or otherwise?
So it's thinking through the resilience of remote workplaces and planning for power outages, such as mobile devices having power banks charged and ready. We're very fortunate that some of the technology, similar to what we're on today, we're able to geographically be separated, but be in a virtual video call so we can stay connected. It's looking at making sure those tools are available if some of the traditional channels of operations are not available. And it's thinking of the what if. Power goes out. Is there a public hotspot that's nearby? I know there were some fast food restaurants that I found out you could get in the parking lot and get a signal. And I will share, I had the ultimate resiliency test, as in the midst of the beginning phases when the COVID-19 pandemic was really dynamic, it was really fast paced. We unfortunately here in the southeast of the United States were hit with tornadoes. So I was working to help manage the response, the recovery, the adaptation of COVID, and dealing with no power, no cell service, to make sure that I was available to help with that recovery for our company during COVID, but also individually, personally, making sure with that severe weather event. So I did find a local restaurant that did have that connectivity, because a hotspot is a good alternative, but for 8 or 10 hours a day is not always the best.
No, I think a lot of companies are looking at those alternatives, looking at MiFi's, right? Any of the tools that we can use to boost power and then to make sure that we have connectivity. Definitely something for companies to do a much deeper dive in. I know there's tension between what employees or employers can provide versus what the needs are. So I think it's going to keep us all busy in this space for a while as we continue to talk through all of the aspects of that. Well, hey, I wanted to dive into the people side a little bit more again, and really thinking about us as resilience professionals. What do you think, in your estimation, are really the strengths that people should be looking either to build or they bring to their roles in order to be successful?
They're similar to the breadth and scope of resilience. There are multiple strengths to be successful, and some are particular areas of resilience that an individual can do a deeper dive. There are others that, to become more generally knowledgeable across the resilience spectrum, come into play. I will say process My ITIL background has been very valuable in looking at an organization and decomposing its processes and how they relate together to understand the workings, how and what a company does.
Yeah.
The addition is the practice of business continuity and understanding that discipline. How do we resume operations or persist operations? How do we make sure that people, our processes are in place, the communication channels, and technology comes into play? Another horizontal skill set is project management and communication. We're interacting with departments, teams across the company.
All levels. Yeah.
All levels. And so being very effective with our communication, but also very organized so that as we're going through trying to achieve the objectives of resilience, it's done in a meaningful way and a timely way.
Hey, so you and I met through our business continuity resilience insurance network. And so knowing, the strengths that you have in the industry on the people side, thinking about that, what do you think is the value of networking, and why do groups like ours provide value to practitioners?
Yes. And first, a shout out, Ashley, to you and Diane Stevens for all the time and effort you put into this. It's one of the most active networks that I've participated in with a lot of members contributing. The benefits that I've seen is it's a venue to talk about non-proprietary best practices, to also get feedback on tools or technologies that may be supporting the resilience function, to hear from peers on what went well, what hasn't, to share emerging threats and risks, and gain affirmation that the direction the resilience program is headed in the resilience space, that our respective programs are in alignment. And it's been very beneficial with the ideation and knowledge sharing. And it's also been a great opportunity for some of the SMEs in the resiliency space to have an audience of like-minded professionals that are really interested in learning and getting better at resilience. And I've appreciated some of the experts that you all have brought to our BCRIN. I'll use the acronym instead of saying that mouthful.
Exactly. That's why we use the acronyms, right? Well, thank you so much for that. And so is there anything else, Jeff, that you wanted to share with this audience and talk about today that we didn't get a chance to cover already?
I will share that resilience, while it is in the backdrop with regulatory trends, is becoming more and more important for organizations. And there are many levels and many categories. I know my current role is focused in on operational resilience, which is really focused more on the short term and the day-to-day operations. And if there is an event, crisis management or event response. But there are many other facets that are emerging that are in more of that mid and long-term planning that are coming into play. And so it is for those that like problem solving, like to make processes sure they're durable and viable, this is really an exciting career space. So I would say I was pleasantly surprised as I've been on this risk journey coming from audit over into a second line entity with operational resilience.
Thank you for that. And I think that your organization is very fortunate to have you. And hey, I want to close us out today because although I know we could keep talking forever, we are going to close out. But hey, could you share with this group kind of a fun fact about yourself that maybe people don't know if they know you or just meeting you for the first time?
Now, I tried sharing this fun fact and it flopped and was said that it's not fun.
Okay.
And so I will share that, just being transparent. I love to read. I always have a book going. So I will go through at times two or more books a week.
That's great.
It's awesome to relax or disconnect from our resilience world. And I was told, yeah, that's kind of boring. So I'll share another fun fact. As a frugal college student, meaning my wallet wasn't overabundant with cash, I worked security for rock concerts.
Oh, wow.
So I was able to see some fantastic shows and get paid for it. So that's a fun fact that not many people may know about me.
I love that. And hey, reading is fun. And I think it's a very important aspect, either to do it, like you said, to unwind or to learn more. I think as professionals in this space, it's always a good thing to be learning, whether it's directly related to the work we do or aligned, and of course, downtime. As everyone knows here in the audience, that I'm a huge proponent of personal wellness as well and well-being for resilience. So I think that's great to share. Hey, how do people get a hold of you if they want to connect with you? Is LinkedIn the best place?
LinkedIn is a good one. And happy to share additional contact information with you.
Okay. We'll make sure to link that in the comments section below. But Jeff, I really want to thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Really great to talk to you. I'm so glad we were able to make this happen. And thanks again.
Thanks for having me, and really enjoy the collaboration that we've been able to do through our professional network, and appreciate all you're doing for the resilience space. So thank you, Ashley.